Yeah, it doesn't feel like a Christopher Nolan film. I don't I don't get it. I don't get any Christopher Nolan vibes from this film. As far as it's not bad. It's not terrible, right? It was if I were to rate it like 1 to 10, it would be like a 4, right? It's below average by a bit. It could be better. Like I think he just needs to stick to the source material a little more, and it's just very far fetched from the shit, right? And I could see like some parts are good. Some of the effects, like the way they designed the Cyclops, I think it's pretty good. They added like a good touch where when he chews, like his eyes would twitch to each munch, and it's pretty good. Like there was some good touches in it, but there was also a lot of cheap amplifications in the film, right? Like they dialed up the volume to increase the intensity of something, and it's so loud that it would hurt my ears and pulls me out of the immersion. And so it just that's where it feels cheap, right? Where you just use higher volume to make an experience more intense. No, that ruined it. And also, there's a lot of woke hiring, a lot of yeah, a lot of fancy hiring. You got Tom Holland, which this is my opinion. I think Holland is a stiff actor. I don't think he is a good actor at all. It's just he has this like demeanor to him where he's trying to look like a goofball, but he's just too average. I get very mid vibes from Tom Holland. Like he doesn't really stand out in particular. He doesn't really have a personality. He's just normal. He is extremely normal. He doesn't have anything special about him. And this film doesn't portray him as being special or anything, but I just get the vibe. Like I think he fits well as the Spider-Man, like kind of good, not as good as the first guy, but oh yeah, Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire was the best Spider-Man, but then Tom Holland, he's very mid, like he's very average and normal. So I don't, he doesn't stand out to me in particular, and it's the whole film was just. It doesn't feel like a Christopher Nolan film, and Matt Damon, I don't think the cast is all wrong. Like the cast is all off-putting. There's a lot of practical shoots that kind of make the film kind of good, but the cast is just not accurate at all. I think the best person that they cast was Charlize Theron. Yeah, they did a good job of her. I like that a lot. It makes sense. But the rest, even Matt Damon, like I don't think like Matt Damon is cut out to be Odysseus. He might look well, but his acting is not good. You can look at Matt Damon's older films. I think like the only good one that he had was Good Will Hunting, right? But the rest of his filmography, it's all mediocre, to be honest. So if I were to rate this film, I just give it a 4 out of 10. It's bad, but like not terrible bad. It's like below average. It's below average, simply said.
Well, we're waiting.
Well, this one's been a long time coming. Several days longer than I expected, if I'm honest. Mostly because of the fine people at American Airlines, who managed to cancel my flights not once but 2 days in a row, forcing me to embark on my own personal odyssey just to get home. It wasn't all bad though. All that enforced leisure time did at least give me a chance to catch up on the movie itself, and so
what the fuck?
Here we find ourselves. If there's one thing I never had on my bingo card for this year, it's that the most contentious, bitterly controversial, and divisive movie of 2026.
Yeah, people do not like the idea of this film. It's I saw the movie. I'll save it for later.
Would be made by Christopher Nolan of all people. Depending on who you talk to, The Odyssey is either a disgusting cinematic abomination that completely subverts and disrespects Homer's original work while shamelessly
It kind of
pandering
did.
to the
It
mythical
low-key
modern
did.
audience, or
Not
an
high-key,
undisputed
low-key.
masterpiece of film, the crowning achievement of Nolan's career, and a strong candidate for the greatest thing the human race has ever achieved. Fucking calm down, love. But no matter which side of the divide you come down on, half the movie-going world is gonna despise you until the end of time itself.
Welcome to America.
Here's the thing though, dear viewer, real life is a bit more complicated and nuanced than that, and as it turns out, so is the Odyssey. And now that I've had a chance to experience Christopher Nolan's wannabe magnum opus for myself...
Yeah, it's kind of wannabe. So the movie, I saw it, it's okay. It's okay. I expect it to be trash, but at the same time, I know it's Christopher Nolan, so it can't be that bad. And true, it's not that bad. It is not that bad. But there was a lot of pandering to the modern audience. Or the woke audience, not modern, woke, right? Because modern can mean a lot of things, right? Now you had the chuds in modern. And I don't know, there's just, the Elliot Page and then the Zendaya fatigue, the whole spiel. I feel like Christopher Nolan probably did not wanted this, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, I seen Interstellar, I seen Oppenheimer. Those are phenomenal work, but to see this is a somewhat of a turn. It's kind of different from his usual work. I feel like the producer may have a hand in doing this because it does not feel like it's Christopher Nolan's work.
What is my verdict? Meh. I know that sounds like a bit of a weird reaction considering all the hype around this film, but it's the word that best sums up my feelings by the time the credits rolled. I just didn't feel much of anything. For all the controversies and culture warfare swirling around it, The Odyssey was pretty much exactly what I expected from a late-stage
I think it just got balanced out by, like, good scenes and bad ideas. Like, you shouldn't keep like Zendaya or what is it, the Helen of Detroit or something is not the Helen of Troy. It's a black lady. Yeah, it's a black girl playing a Greek goddess, borderline goddess, human goddess, or whatever. It's just very off. And then you have Travis Scott, all right, with his big stick. It's not really an Odyssey film at some point. It just gets diluted into something else. And that's what I watch. I want to watch a modern remake that is very well made. There's a lot of effort in this film. I could see the effort put in this film, but just because something has a lot of effort, it doesn't mean it's good.
For Nolan film, technically impressive and commendably.
Oh yeah, the giants, these guys,
bleak, emotionally sterile, and weirdly lacking.
They're not supposed to have armor
or satisfying payoffs. Populated by cold, distant characters that give nothing away and invite no empathy from the audience. Dialogue that's jarringly clunky and on the nose, often delivered by talented but miscast actors, and ultimately an ending that fails to capitalize on its incredible build-up. It's a movie about love, yearning, adventure, wonder, mysticism, and epic mythology woven together by a man who either can't or won't understand any of those things.
I feel like
the Odyssey
he's probably being held hostage
years after the
to make this film.
And the end of the Trojan Wars. Matt Damon's living on a beach with Charlize Theron with no memory of how he got there, while Zendaya
She's
stares
hot
at him every once in a while to display her incredible
fatigue. The fatigue, like this. Zendaya just keeps appearing like in every crucial scene, like it's supposed to have some kind of deep motif, but there's no sense of any deep motif in this film. Like, you have like Odysseus that is leading the team, and every time he leads the team to some event, it's usually low key or somewhat catastrophic. But when the team decides to go off on their own and forsake the Odysseus's advice, they get punished badly or severely for it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, listen to your dad, or listen to your captain motif or whatever, but it just doesn't really resonate deep with the audience.
Acting range.
And Zendaya,
Come on, love, show us what you can do.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no one's
set
really
up Axe's
interested
framing
in
device
her.
for the rest of the narrative that gradually gets filled in the form of flashbacks. The first of which is the Siege of Troy, where Matt Damon uses the Trojan horse to get him and his men inside so they can open the gates and end the 10-year-long siege. Yep, it took him 10 years to come up with that fucking idea. Anyway, with the war successfully over, everyone's like, guess we'll go home then. His second in command is like, shall we take the quickest, easiest, and most logical route, sir? But Matt Damon's like, nah, it'll be fine. So instead they head south and end up trapped in a cave with a giant cyclops that eats a few of them. Then they escape, but Matt Damon just can't resist shooting it with his bow, which incurs the wrath of Poseidon, who blows them to another island altogether, where they run into a bunch of medieval space marines who promptly kill the shit out of them. It's at this point that the survivors decide they've had pretty much enough of Matt Damon's shit, and they head off to find a lovely woman named Cersei who turns them into pigs because she hates men or something. But then Matt Damon shows up and...
Yeah, that scene where some witch lady turned all the guys into pigs. I mean, it kind of makes sense when you're like a singular woman, and then like all these dudes shows up in your house. Like they show up in her house like while she was not home, and then you could. She talks about how like men are evil, like they're always getting into wars, which normally I would say, yeah, that makes sense, but in this film, it gives me the vibe that they're just trying to push more woke ideology onto you, like, oh, men are these idiot troglodytes that are just constantly fighting because they love fighting and they love pillaging and raping women. That's their thing. I can assure you of great certainty that I know a few veterans, right? They do not like war. They hated war. They fight because the guys at top demanded them to fight. And they have to. If they don't do it, they're fucked.
Persuades her to turn them back into humans, and decides he should probably get some advice on how to...
She tried to paint it like... I feel like this movie was painting it to make it seem like men loves war. They don't. I can assure you, they do not love war. Maybe like a scant 0.05% of men loves war, but for the most part, men do not love war.
He is starting to drag on a bit.
Or violence.
So him and his bros literally go to hell itself and get berated by the spirit of Elliot Page for a while, then land on another island where they're told not to eat any of the cattle there or they'll all be cursed to death. So they eat the cattle.
Elliot Page.
You know it, their ship gets destroyed in a storm and Matt Damon washes up on a beach with Charlize Theron, who keeps him drunk.
She's hot.
For the next
She's actually kind of hot.
Years. But eventually he decides he ought to get back to his wife Anne Hathaway because it's been like 20 years.
Hotter than Penelope.
She's probably wondering where he got to. I mean, like, no offense to Anne Hathaway or anything, but if I had a choice between her and an immortal Charlize Theron, well, I know which one I'd be choosing. Anyway, so he makes a raft out of bits of leftover ship that washed up with him and just kind of says, fuck it, let's see where I end up. And wouldn't you know it, he ends up right back at Ithaca, the very place he's been trying to get to this whole time. That was lucky. Now, while all this has been going on, Anne Hathaway's been fending off potential suitors who all want to marry her so they can become the next king of Ithaca, and as you can imagine, they're getting a bit impatient after 2 decades of being dicked around. Anyway, can Anne Hathaway hold out until Matt Damon rescues himself for the first time in cinema history, or will Ithaca fall to chaos and bloodsheds? You know, when I see the frankly ludicrous amount of praise that's been heaped on this movie over the past week, it kind of reminds me of the borderline hysteria around Black Panther a few years ago, except with pretentious wannabe intellectuals terrified of getting lumped in with the unwashed plebs if they dare to criticize Nolan's masterpiece, or just partisan culture.
Yeah, I'm criticizing this non-masterpiece. Like, this is not a masterpiece. Sorry, Christopher Nolan. This is, yeah, you can argue that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I mean, if you were to ask the general populace, right, is American Beauty a good movie? 99% of people would say, yeah, it's a good movie or it's a phenomenal movie. And if you ask them if what's a trash movie, actually, I don't watch trash movies, so it's kind of hard to say. Like, I don't know, like something involving like teaching kids how to like sexual content or sexual activities, something extreme, or like, oh yeah, the recent Star Wars, or the girl that's trying to be a wrestler, that TV show. Yeah, I think like most you can easily differentiate like good movies from bad movies very easily. This, I look at it, it was like, okay, this is an average film because it's trying to force woke ideology, and it's just like, I remember like some of the scenes were like a little too much. Like they increased the volume too much, and it was just hurting my ears listening to it. It was not pleasant in some of the scenes. Like they're trying to amplify the volume to intensify the experience, but it ended up just like pulling me out of the immersion because it hurt my fucking ears.
Warriors willing to say and do basically anything to own the chuds. The movie's been dogged by controversy ever since the initial casting was announced, so I guess we might as well start by addressing the three elephants in the room. Yes, Elliot Page, Lupita Nyong'o, and Zendaya are all in this movie. Yes, Elliot Page.
Okay, so let me tell you something about Elliot Page in this film. For those of you wondering, she only has about like 3 minutes in the film. Just three, well, maybe a little more, but she only has like about 3 minutes. It's not much, right? And they don't try to sell Elliot Page as some kind of a grand warrior that fought like 100 guys, right? They just painted Elliot Page as like a a lowly soldier that made the sacrifice to for a greater cause, right? And Elliot Page just stuck to the role of just being the weak warrior. I'll do what I am designed to do. I will try to trick the enemy soldiers into bringing it into the Trojan horse. I will die in the process. Blah blah blah. Right? No, Elliot Page has not got some kind of significant role. Okay, so she didn't like 1v1000 or like nothing significant. And I could totally see why people hate, kind of dislike Elliot Page, right? Because the whole boxing video that she made, or the clip, is just it was so cringe. And also she got like ab etching done, or ab installation for the plastic surgery. And like abs, right, it's something you earn. If you just install fake abs into your torso, people are gonna laugh. People are gonna make fun of you. And in some cases, people will also resent you for, you're paying for this accolade. What the fuck? This is something you earn. This is like something that the only kind of accolade that poor people can get, and she's trying to take that away from them. So I could totally see why people don't like her. And yeah, I'm calling her. I have a good reason for it.
It looks just as ridiculous as you might imagine trying to run in a heavy suit of armor. No, they don't have more than a couple of minutes of screen time each, and they're largely irrelevant to the story, and Zendaya doesn't even act so much as exists on screen. And yeah, I know it's the print.
This is what I'll show you what Zendaya did throughout the whole movie. Odysseus, you're bad. You've done some really bad stuff. You're really bad. You're naughty. You have sinned. She just does these head nods that are like, oh, you're very bad, naughty, not good, you're a bad boy. She doesn't really act in this film. She just head nods like 90% of the time in the film. It's just that's why like this film was so bad. It tries to have a deep motif, but it failed so in doing it.
Principle of the thing for a lot of people, and if you're really bothered by stuff like that, it's kind of like me saying I only spat in your food a little bit, so why aren't you eating it? The point I'm getting at here is that as much as these three dominated the headlines around this movie, they really don't have much of an impact on the film itself, and they had no impact on my perception of it. They come and go so quickly you barely even notice them. While we're talking about casting though, probably the funniest bit for me was John Leguizamo as a blind old servant of Odysseus who's been given a shitty white wig to try to make him look older and basically nothing else. I mean, couldn't you have just hired an actual old man? Are you really telling me that John Leguizamo was so fucking good that nobody else could play this role? Ah, whatever. Ultimately, you'll either accept stuff like this, or you just won't watch the movie in the first place. For me though, the bigger issue with the Odyssey is the creative philosophy behind it, and I might as well just come out and say it here. I was pretty fucking bored with this movie.
For me, I wasn't pretty damn bored. I was like, it's okay. There was some good scenes in there, but I just didn't like all the preaching and the stuff that was obviously catering to the woke audience. It's kind of I mean, I guess like, what am I even saying? It's obviously they're trying to cater to the woke audience and to the chud audience, right? It's like, oh, the Odyssey, man, armor, cool, and then you have Zendaya, Elliot Page, and all this crap like female empowerment shenanigans. It's obviously they're trying to cater to both sides of the audience, right? And I don't think this is actually Christopher Nolan's idea. I don't think he actually made the movie in particular. I get the sense that the producer just slipped their hand in and made a bunch of adjustments and kind of forced Christopher Nolan into this hot mess.
Not because of the source material, not because of the labyrinthine adventure, and not because of the runtime, but because it just refuses to let me in. Nolan's slavish devotion to rendering everything into a grounded, believable tone robs the Odyssey of the very things that make it so compelling. Its mythology and its sense of wonder. It's like looking at some beautiful sculpture rendered into a mathematical formula. You can sense the work and precision that went into it, but it doesn't really stir anything in you. There wasn't a single character in this movie that I could ever truly empathize with and root for, because none of them talk or act anything like real human beings. Damn man, even the fucking gods are boring. I mean really, Zendaya's the only one who takes physical form, and even then she acts more like Odysseus' conscience than an active part of the narrative. Odysseus himself is written as this weirdly cold, distant, aloof figure who barely reacts to the things he sees and experiences. His decisions imply that he's got a strong sense of adventure, recklessness, and curiosity about the world, but his emotions and dialogue are the exact opposite. He's like an android journeying home with no particular sense of urgency or investment simply because he's programmed to do it. Where's the loving husband and father desperate to see his family again? Where's the absent king eager to retake the throne?
I don't think Matt Damon's a good fit for this role. Like physically, he looks like he looks well for the character, the Odysseus, but the way he acts, it's kind of like moral pandering. He wants to look like the super good guy, but if you were to look at if you were to read the Odyssey or you watch the 2004 version of the Odyssey, the guy is more calculative. Like he's more pragmatic on handling the situation, and he's more cold. But in this version, he's more obsessed with being the good guy.
Kingdom again. Where's the bold and witty adventurer, the compassionate leader of men? By the time the finale rolled around, I didn't particularly care whether he made it home because he doesn't seem to care much either.
Oh no, I had to disagree with the critical drinker here. He does care about going home, right? He hella does. But I think like this is where we stand opposite. I guess it's like a different perception, right? I say that he's trying to look too hard to be a good guy, trying too hard to look like the good guy, and critical drinker said he doesn't want to go home or whatever. He's trying to He's trying hard to not look like the good guy. I think this is where we both disagree.
He seems to be portraying him as a vaguely traumatized war veteran haunted by his actions at Troy and his guilt over the sacking of the Sootsy, which I get the impression wasn't really part of Homer's original story. And his various trials and setbacks are framed more as a well-deserved punishment for what he sees as his betrayal of his principles, which is nice and all, but it also robs him of agency because he's no longer striving towards the goal of getting home, but instead just kind of waiting for the next horrible thing to happen to him. His reunion with his son, his wife, and his vengeance against the suitors should be this triumphant, cathartic release of emotions that have been building through the whole movie, but it all comes across as flat, procedural, and obligatory. Just a brutal fight in semi-darkness where you can barely even tell what's going on. Shit, man, even watching an old dog finally die
the dog.
They're being reunited with his beloved master for the first time in years, which should be an emotional slam dunk, doesn't really hit because the character himself barely even acknowledges it.
Yep, 100%. The fucking dog. This is another attempt on trying to get you emotionally hooked in the movie. They try to make these bad guys like a bunch of dog haters. Like this dog was supposed to be Odysseus's personal hunting dog. But then like all the suitors, the rich people, they go to his house, they party, and they treat his dog like shit. They try to paint these bad guys as a bunch of dog haters, right? And I don't know about you, but I know a bunch of like evil people in my personal life, and also like if you go on the internet, you see a bunch of evil people. If you hate Andrew Tate, right, you can look at his like clips. You can see that he loves his dog. He loves them more than his wives. Or if you look at Hitler, you can also see that that he also loves dogs too. But in this film, they try to make it seem like all the bad guys hate dogs, which is obviously an attempt, a very weak attempt in getting you to hate the bad guys and liking the good guys. Look, man, these bad people, oh my god, they're kicking the dog. They hate dogs. What kind of person would hate dogs? It's emotional pandering. It's very obvious. And when Odysseus came back, he just like touched the dog. And if I haven't seen my dog in over a decade and I see him again, I think I might cry. I might actually cry. But he just put his hands on the dog, right? And oh yeah, by the way, that dog is on a pile of shit. This is shit. All this junk over here, shit. Because the bad guys threw the dog on a pile of shit, just to like make you feel more sympathetic towards the dog. But you know, it's just a movie's pathetic attempt into getting you emotionally hooked, and it kind of treats you like an idiot.
Slam dunk doesn't really hit because the character himself barely even acknowledges it. The only actor who really seems to be going for it is Robert Pattinson, who plays every trick in the book to make his antagonist as much of a
Robert
cowardly
Pattinson
asshole as possible. It works. You really do hate the guy, but if the only character in your movie that inspires any kind of emotion is your antagonist, well, you've got
I disagree with Critical Drinker a second time. I think Robert Pattinson does not play a good bad guy. I don't really hate him that much. They try to make him hateable, but I don't hate him. I just don't. He's horny for Penelope, right? Just like the book, but he made him kind of squirmish and cowardly, and it gave him that haircut too. By the way, it's very obvious. It's not really Robert Pattinson's fault. I think it's not completely his fault. I think like the producers or Christopher Nolan try to make him look like the dorky, goofy, pathetic bad guy. But I don't think it's executed well at all. It's just like you got the wrong character and the wrong. Like, this guy is good looking, okay? You cannot really have a good looking guy to beat a bad guy. And he's not like, you know, like twisty mustache, kind of good looking. He's like the pretty boy, good looking. So it's kind of hard to make Robert Pattinson look like a bad guy. It's kind of hard to do that with his look and his demeanor. They cast the wrong dude for the job. Again, it's the wrong cast. You casted the wrong dude, wrong guy for the job.
A movie that inspires any kind of emotion is your antagonist. Well, you've got problems. Another problem here is the dialogue, not just the jarring use of American accents and modern slang, swear words and terminology, but how fucking on the nose and clumsy it is.
10 years on this fucking beach. Let's go home.
Come on, Chris, you're fucking better than this, man. On the technical side of things, I'll at least give Nolan props for using practical effects as much as possible and shooting in real locations.
Yeah.
That kind of shit really is a vanishing art, and it's nice to see that level of dedication and commitment in modern Hollywood. I mean,
Costs a lot of money, though.
I'm not sure where he did his location shooting, but it doesn't look or feel anything like the Eastern Mediterranean, where it's meant to be set. With the washed out colours, overcast grey skies, and bleak windswept hillsides, it looks more like Scotland in November. And I guess that really sums up the overall tone of this film. Bleak, dull, muted, and relentlessly dour. An adventure without spirit. A hero's journey without a hero. An epic saga without any sense of scale and grandeur. A clinical, precise, finely engineered movie made by a man of great technical skill and intellectual power, who can process and study every line of the source material, but who seems to lack the romantic soul and the wonder and the sheer humanity to bring it all to life. For me, The Odyssey was an impressive, thought-provoking movie with an incredible cast, made by one of the most successful directors of his age, and it'll probably go on to rake in a lot of money and awards just like we all knew it would. But ultimately, it's a movie I'll probably never watch or even think about again.
Yeah.
And that really is the most damning indictment of all. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.